In the weeks before Helene hit western North Carolina, we invited Congressman Chuck Edwards and State Representative Caleb Rudow to a debate right here in our studio, hoping to give you, the voter, an opportunity to hear them face to face. Congressman Edwards declined, but I did have the opportunity to ask each of them some of the same questions and get their positions on issues important to western North Carolinians. So in lieu of a debate, here they are, back to back. Congressman Chuck Edwards, thank you for joining us. Congressman, the House is back in session. What's at the top of your agenda that could actually impact folks right here in western North Carolina?
Well, thanks for having me this morning, Charles. I think the thing that is most on the agenda right now that would impact folks back in western North Carolina is us getting a budget passed in the next 18 days, preventing the government from shutting down, and keeping our national parks and Blue Ridge Parkway open. We, in western North Carolina, we have about $30 billion of economic impact every year from our national forests, parks, and Blue Ridge Parkway. Thousands of businesses count on the government to stay open to keep them in business. And so job one for western North Carolina is to keep the government open, not to mention the fact that our military needs to continue to be paid and funded.
Well, it's a lot to do in a short period of time. Are you convinced you can get it done?
Oh, of course. It looks a little ugly right now. It looks a little messy, but that's the way policy is developed. It should take a while. It should take serious consideration, thought, and debate. And I'm confident that we'll get it done. I'm hopeful we'll get it done.
I'm here with State Representative Caleb Rudow. He is challenging Congressman Chuck Edwards for the District 11 congressional seat. Thank you for being with us here today. Appreciate it. He says the number one thing on the agenda this fall is funding the government. Do you think the Republican Party can get that done in time before they have to shut down the government?
It's a great question. You know, unfortunately, I think the Republican Party has been taken over by extremists who are more interested in destroying the government than they are funding it and making it work. And they're more interested in starting culture wars, and they're more interested in attacking immigrants than they are about talking about the real issues. And we've seen this from the presidential level down to the governorship and Mark Robinson running in North Carolina, and we've seen it with Chuck Edwards. You know, I think instead of focusing on the most important issues out here, he's focused on attacking the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians for legalizing pot. He's focused on bullying Asheville and Buncombe County. And I really think this region deserves a representative who's going to be out there and is going to listen and is going to focus on helping people more than just trying to divide us.
Former President Trump talked about increasing tariffs. An apple grower we spoke with was concerned it could mean higher prices here and make it harder for him to sell his apples abroad. What do you say to him?
Most of the folks back at home don't realize that President Trump's tariff policies are put in place for a reason, but there's also an exchange there. For example, President Trump, with the previous tariffs he put in place, asked for commitment from China and other countries to raise their level of production of agricultural products. And so there's very much an offset there. And most of the folks back at home trust President Trump to get behind this tariff program and help make a difference to improve their business and make us more competitive in western North Carolina.
Former President Trump is calling for more and higher tariffs. Where are you on this?
You know, this is pretty clearly going to be a tax on working families in the United States. And I used to run a small business. You know, I've got a master's in policy and I've studied economics. And you know what happens when you impose tariffs like that? Those tariffs get passed on to the consumer. And it just doesn't make economic sense. And that's not just me. That's pretty much every major economist has said this is going to be a tax on working families. It's going to be a tax on the people who, frankly, can't make ends meet already.
Well, North Carolina is a pivotal state and a whole lot's at stake. How important is your vote if you're a North Carolinian?
Every vote matters. Every vote counts. I encourage everyone to make sure that you're registered right now and plan to get out to the polls early. Early voting starts on October the 17th. Let's not wait till November 5th this year.
So what happens in this election actually may come down to the voters of North Carolina.
Yeah.
How important is your vote if you're a North Carolinian?
Incredibly important. North Carolina has always been a swing state. We have had Democratic governors and we've had Republican legislatures, and it's always been purple. And I think the energy we're seeing here from folks all across Western North Carolina and across the state is just incredible. I had 2 events in Henderson County yesterday. The Henderson Democrats are really fired up. Folks, as far as Cherokee are energized this year, and they're energized because there is a really stark choice for voters this year. It's between folks who are focused on culture wars, who are focused on bullying people, who are focused on sending our country back, and the Democratic Party, which I really believe is focused on finding a way forward, finding a way to see what brings us together more than what divides us.
Recreational marijuana just became available on the Koala boundary. Your opponent supports a path towards legalization in North Carolina. Where are you on this issue?
Well, I'm clearly opposed to recreational marijuana in Western North Carolina. When we look at the suicide rates of young people today, the mental health issues, drug, alcohol abuse, and consider the fact that it's been proven over and over again that marijuana use is a pathway to other drugs, not to mention the adverse mental health effects that it has on our young people today. We simply do not need recreational marijuana in Western North Carolina.
Recreational marijuana. You know where Chuck Edwards stands on this. Where are you?
I think we should legalize cannabis, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. And I think number one, it's ironic that somebody who's a guns dealer, as an arms merchant, is worried about pot, which we have seen, over and over again, cannabis being a substance that has not increased health problems. And if you want to talk about health problems, let's talk about alcohol. Let's talk about other substances. Let's focus on the substances like opioid addiction and fentanyl in this country that are real threats to the people here. And look, cannabis is something that I think should be legal, and I think the majority of voters in North Carolina across this country believe that as well.
And abortion, our final issue here. Former President Trump has argued it should be a state's issue and won't commit to signing a nationwide abortion ban if it lands on his desk. Where are you right now on this issue?
I certainly support President Trump's opinion that this is a decision of the people in each state. That's what we fought for 50 years, is to keep the federal government from overreaching and putting the authority back in the states for things that are not specified in our Constitution that would belong to the federal government. I'm fully in support of the states being in charge. And North Carolina, I believe, has made the right decision. They have the right strike between public opinion and protecting the lives of the unborn. And the thing that I think that folks are missing is that we need to, just like in North Carolina, support those young women today that are frightened and faced with making this type of decision. We need to make sure that there are resources available, that they understand they're loved and supported as they're approaching these decisions.
Abortion. Do you believe that abortion as it existed under Roe v. Wade should be a national law?
Absolutely. When you have this kind of patchwork of laws, it creates real healthcare problems. Number one, we have a hard enough time attracting doctors in North Carolina, and with the current abortion laws, we've had a harder time finding people who want to come practice here. And it's caused all sorts of terrible consequences on just people practicing and trying to get healthcare for women. And
so you don't believe in the state-by-state sort of patchwork?
We should absolutely make Roe v. Wade the law of the land again. And I'll tell you, every state that has put together this initiative on the ballot, it's been voted against, or it's been voted for reproductive rights and against these kinds of abortion bans. And that's the real challenge here. I think politicians in this country are just out of step with, and Republican politicians are out of step with where the average voter is.
All right, Congressman Chuck Edwards, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.